And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
Not personally. The director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the man who has testified in multiple hearings about Epstein transparency, the man who stood at the White House while the Attorney General handed Epstein file binders to social media influencers. That man just told Congress he has not personally read the federal witness statements where Epstein's victims named the men who abused them. Those documents exist. They have been confirmed. They name at least 20 people, and the person in charge of them hasn't read them.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
FD302S are the standard IFWRM FBI form used to record witness interviews. When a federal agent sits down with someone who has information about a crime, everything that person says gets written into a 302. In the 2019 federal sex trafficking case against Jeffrey Epstein, victims cooperated with FBI investigators. They sat down. They gave statements. They named people. Those statements were recorded in 302 documents. Those 302 documents are now in FBI custody. They have been reviewed by 2 separate U.S. attorney offices across 3 different administrations. And today, Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky sat across from the current FBI director and asked one question: have you personally read them? The answer to that question, and what it means for everything Patel has said in public about Epstein, is what this video is about. By the end, you will understand exactly what those documents contain, who confirmed they exist, why Patel's answer is not just surprising, but structurally disqualifying, and what it means that the same man who skipped the 302s was personally present when Epstein file binders were handed to influencers.
So I've got 4 documents I'd like to introduce into the record. The first one is Jeffrey Epstein's 6 story played out for years in plain sight. And Acosta is quoted in here saying, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." The second document is entitled, "What Epstein's Bodyguard Warned About His CIA Connections." The third document is from Fox Digital. It's titled, "Epstein's Private Calendar Reveals Planned Meetings with Obama Admin Official CIA Chief." And the last document is Wall Street Journal article that highlights Ehud Barak's 36 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence for Israel.
Before Massie asked Patel a single question, he entered 4 documents into the congressional record. The first quotes Alexander Acosta, the federal prosecutor who gave Epstein his original sweetheart deal. Acosta said he was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave him alone. That sentence has never been officially explained or retracted. The second document is about Epstein's bodyguard and his warnings about CIA connections. The third shows Epstein's private calendar with a planned meeting involving a CIA director and an Obama-era official. The fourth documents 36 separate meetings between Epstein and Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister and former head of Israeli military intelligence. Massie did not editorialize. He put the documents in the record. Then he turned to Patel and opened with what Patel had said 24 hours earlier in a different hearing.
Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, "You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself?" You replied, according to the transcript, "There is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else."
That statement, "there is no credible information," is the wall Massie came to knock down, not with a political argument, with a jurisdiction, because Patel had also said that case files were constrained by search warrants from 2006 and 2007 and the non-prosecution agreement from Florida, and Massie had done the legal homework.
Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents.
The 2006 Florida deal has no jurisdiction over the 2019 New York indictment. They are separate cases, separate offices, separate document sets. The FD 302s from the 2019 investigation are not constrained by anything that happened in Florida 13 years earlier. They exist independently. They are in FBI custody, and Massie was about to explain what they contain.
According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
One by one, a royal prince, a rock star, a magician, a Hollywood producer worth hundreds of millions of dollars, an Italian car company owner, a government official, a former politician, a prominent banker, at least 6 billionaires, one of them Canadian, Jess Staley, named directly because his name already appears in civil litigation and public court filings, and Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who testified in federal court, who named powerful men under oath, who cooperated with federal investigators, who died before this hearing. Massie said clearly, I do not know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. These are victim-provided identifications recorded in FBI witness statements. They are in the files Patel controls. Now listen to what Patel said he has done about them.
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information, and we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
He said no new materials have been brought to him launching a new indictment. Not that the documents don't contain names. Not that the victims' accounts were discredited. That no one has brought him something that rises to the level of a new indictment. An investigation can be opened without producing an indictment. The absence of a new indictment says nothing about whether anyone investigated the 20 categories of men those victims named. Massie had one more question before he got to the one that mattered most.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of 2 different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
Confirmed. The 302 documents are real. They are in FBI possession. They were reviewed by 2 different U.S. attorney offices across 3 separate administrations. Patel did not say the victims were not credible. He said 3 administrations looked at the same materials and did not bring a prosecution. That is his defense. And it raises an obvious question. If 3 prior administrations looked at victims naming 20 men and did nothing, what exactly is this administration doing differently? Massie had the answer to that question ready. He just needed to ask it first.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
There it is. That is the exposure the title of this video is built on. The FBI director confirmed the 302 documents exist. He confirmed they are in FBI possession. He confirmed they were reviewed. And then he admitted he has not personally read them. The documents where Epstein's victims sat with federal agents and named the men who abused them. The documents that detail a royal prince, a rock star, a magician, 6 billionaires, a Hollywood producer. Those specific documents, not personally reviewed by the current director of the FBI. And then, in the same breath, he has been telling the Senate in multiple hearings that there is no credible information. You cannot credibly evaluate documents you have not read. You cannot make a judgment about what they contain if your personal knowledge of them is 0. The people who reviewed them before Patel arrived decided not to prosecute. That is their record. But Patel was not in those administrations. He arrived with a mandate, he says, to be transparent. He stood at a White House event where Epstein file binders were handed to influencers. He has testified about Epstein files in multiple chambers, and he has not read the core witness documents in his own custody. Massie gave him one more chance to explain it.
I said,
I named one today.
I said, we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice and FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay.
He named one, Jess Staley, the former Barclays CEO, whose name already appears in civil court filings. That is the one name Patel will say aloud. For the other 19 categories, the royal prince, the rock star, the magician, the billionaires, he invokes FBI policy on victim privacy. But that policy protects victim identities. Massie was not asking Patel to name the victims. He was asking about the men those victims identified as their abusers. Those are different people. The policy Patel cited covers a different set of names than the ones Massie asked about, and the man citing the policy has not personally read the documents that contain them.
I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
He was personally there. He attended the White House event where Attorney General Pam Bondi handed Epstein file binders to social media influencers, people with millions of followers, people who, in Massie's words, stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims. Patel was in that room, in person. But when Massie asked whether he would personally sit with the actual survivors, the women who gave the statements that produced the 302 documents he has not personally read, the answer shifted. The FBI will meet with anyone who has information. Not him, the FBI. Then the professionals handling the cases. Massie had asked a simple yes or no question. 3 separate answers. None of them yes. He was personally present for the influencer event. He is not personally available for the victims. He has not personally read the documents the victims produced. The word personally keeps appearing in the wrong place.
Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file. And I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Presuming there is a CIA file, 4 documents establishing CIA connections to Epstein are now in the congressional record, entered by the same man asking this question. Patel's answer is, presuming there is one. He reviewed everything the interagency provided to the FBI. If the CIA has a file and did not share it, Patel has not seen it. Every statement he has made about the absence of credible information is limited to whatever landed on his desk. The pattern across this entire hearing is the same word in the wrong place. Personally. The director has not personally read the 302 victim statements. He does not know if the CIA file personally exists. He was personally at the White House influencer event. He will not personally commit to meeting the survivors. In the places it should have been, yes, it is absent. In the one place it lands, it is the least defensible answer in the room. This is Judge Engelmeyer's decision from August and U.S. versus Epstein, stating the government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files dwarfs the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials. 100,000 pages. That is the size of the government's Epstein file, according to a federal judge's ruling. 100,000 pages in FBI custody. and the director of the FBI has not personally read the specific documents inside those files, the 302 witness statements, where victims named the men who abused them. Close the loop opened at the start. Massie entered 4 CIA documents into the record and said nothing. He used a jurisdiction distinction to collapse Patel's Florida excuse. He named Jess Staley as the one name already public, and then listed 19 categories of additional individuals whose identities FBI files contain. He got Patel to confirm on the record that the 302 documents exist, that they are in FBI custody, and that they were reviewed across 3 administrations. Then he asked, "Have you personally read them?" And the FBI director said, "Not personally." He then confirmed he attended the White House influencer event in person. He would not confirm he would personally meet the survivors. He does not know if a CIA file exists. Every answer in this hearing follows the same structure. The FBI has. Career professionals handle it. Multiple administrations looked. Not personally. What Massie exposed in 5 minutes is not a scandal about what the files contain. It is a scandal about who has and has not read them. The files exist. The names are in them. 3 administrations saw them and did nothing. And the director who promised transparency attended the influencer event, but has not read the victim statements. That is the record. That is what this hearing produced.